Hello, everyone, and welcome to Canvas Live. Canvas Live sessions are presented by Canvas community members, Instructure employees, and Canvas partners, and they're designed to help Canvas users improve and enhance their teaching and learning with Canvas. Today, we're pleased to have with us Sean Newfer, who is going to talk about how to embed content into Canvas. And with that, I'll turn the microphone over to Sean.
Thank you. All right, so I'm Sean Newfer. We're going to talk about how to embed content into Canvas. This isn't a very PowerPoint-laden presentation. If you've been to one of my other sessions or one of my conference sessions, you know that I just like to dive in and actually practice and show and demonstrate as opposed to talk about things. So that's just kind of my style. And so we're already halfway through my slide deck already with the title here. If you wanted to follow along, Stephanie posted a link in the chat. Here's the tiny URL if you wanted to remember that. Otherwise, click the link, and it's also on the event page. This is a link to an actual Canvas course within our instance, and it's a public course, so you should be able to access it, and it's published and everything. So I think I'll just head over there, actually. Oops, it's in my other window. All right, so this is my course, TCS Ed System. Stephanie,
Sean, looks like we lost you temporarily.
Okay, but I'm back now.
We have your face, so if you share your screen again.
All right, everybody. Technical difficulties. Okay, so I'm good. We can edit that. All right.
Yes, looks good. Thank you, Sean.
All right. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on. Technology. We love technology. I'm the director of Ed Tech, and I have a love-hate relationship with technology. Sometimes things drop off. All right, but we're good now. So this is a public course. I don't know how much, and before I got cut off there, but this is a public course. I'm going to walk through each of these pages. These are content pages. I also set up a sandbox in here, which is just an empty page. It's set up so that I believe anybody can access it and edit it. If you want to play around with me as I'm showing you things, otherwise play around in your own sandbox in your instance. But let's dive into this. So we're going to talk about embedding pages. Now, embedding means, in terms of embedding content into Canvas, there's links, there's sources on the internet that I want to incorporate into my class. Now, we know that we can post a hyperlink and we can refer students to places on the internet, but embedding goes the other way around. I want to take something that's external from Canvas, from my course, and I want to put it into my course. And you can embed content anywhere where you see a rich text editor, which would be, and we'll show you what that looks like. You can embed content on announcements, assignment pages, content pages, discussion posts. So I have a bunch of content pages with just some raw content here. So we're going to start with Facebook, and I'm going to repeat myself a lot during this session just because embedding content, it's the same process, but there are different interfaces and different things that you look for. But essentially, embedding content is copying code from one page and pasting it into Canvas, but there's a special place where you need to paste it. I'm going to click on Edit this page, and this should all look familiar to you. I have a content page, which is just some content with some horizontal rules, and I'm going to grab some content and put it in here. So first of all, I have this Facebook video, so I'm going to click on this, and you can post the link on any of your pages and push students out to a different place. Oh, let me mute that. So this is just a video about virtual reality, and it's an 8-minute video. So I want to put that into my course. Now, you're pretty much always going to look for some kind of way to share the content. And usually if it's YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, they have ways that you can share. So I'm going to, I mean, you can share, if I click this share button, I can share it on my Facebook account. I can message it to somebody, but that's not what I want. I don't want to share it within the Facebook platform. In Facebook, it's a little bit tricky. So we're starting kind of with the hard stuff, but I'm going to click on these 3 dots right here. Just at the bottom of the video, there's 3 dots, and I have some options. I can save the video, whatever. I'm looking for embed. And so anytime you see this bracket with the slash, that's the code that I'm looking for. And it's going to give me an iframe. And I know this is sounding confusing at first, but we're going to practice this. So I'm going to copy this code that they give me, and they tell me, copy and paste this code into your website, in this case, into Canvas, and this is what the video will look like. Now, there's one trick. All it is pasting it, but it depends on where you paste it. So I'm in the content editor here. I know that this is the rich text editor because I see all of the options here. This looks kind of like Microsoft Word or any word processing platform where I can highlight things and I can bold them or underline them, or I can change the color or the alignment, for example. So I have this space here for raw code. This is where I'm going to paste it. I'm going to paste it as plain text. And so that's the code. Now this isn't going to work. So I'm going to save this. And I pasted the code, and all it does is paste the code, just like that. And it doesn't embed the video, and it just makes it confusing, and it's not much to look at. So I didn't do it right. What I want to do, I'm going to hop back over to edit. I'm going to hop over to the HTML editor. Now, HTML is the hypertext markup language. All it is it means that this is the language that your browser speaks, whether you're using Firefox or Chrome. It's the language that says, okay, this is a video, this bar should be blue, there should be words here. And so I'm going to hop over to the HTML editor, and I'm going to show you a trick as well. Before I go to the HTML editor, I have a place right here, embed video. This is where I want the video to be. So this other text, this could be an overview of an assignment, and then I want to put a video in there. When I hop over to the HTML editor, it all looks a little bit confusing. This can be daunting. And so my trick is I have this embed video. This is where I want it to be. I'm going to just put a whole bunch of A's, the capital letter A, because this is easy for me to look at and see. And when I hop over to the HTML editor, I can see all those A's right there. And so I'm just going to highlight that, and I'm going to paste the code, which is this iframe. And we'll talk a little bit about what the iframe, what it's saying right there. But I'll go ahead and save that. And then you can see my video embedded right on the Canvas page, and it can play. I have all the options that Facebook lets me. I can enter full screen or not. I can, scroll. All right, so my video is right in the content page, and it's not the only thing on the page. I can put content before, after. I can put this anywhere on the page that I want. One more thing I'll show you before I move on. Is you can also include the full post. You just check this box right here, and that gives you more options. It looks more like the Facebook page. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. I'll use the mouse copy and paste instead of the keyboard, so you can see what I'm doing. But then I'm going to look for embed the post. So I embedded the video right there. This is the embed post. I'm going to do something kind of like the A trick. I'm going to put B right here. Look for the B's. And I'll go ahead and paste that and save it. And you can see the difference between pasting a Facebook video or embedding a Facebook video versus embedding the full post, so that if there's a longer description of the video, for example, and if you wanted to have access to the comments, that I can click on that and go right to the post. So it's up to you if you want what you're trying to do. Embed a video or embed a post. All right, and so I know that was a little bit complicated, so we're going to hop over to a little bit easier platform. I think YouTube is very easy. So we're going to hop over to grab a video. So let me, I could actually embed, let me see if I can embed, that's going to cause problems. It's going to cause a looping problem, but let's just search for a Canvas Live video. Let's give a shout out to Laura Gibbs here, one of my friends, and we're going to embed this video then. So you're going to typically look for a share button, And I know on Facebook, share is a little bit different. So that's confusing because share means you're going to put the link to a friend or put it on your Facebook wall. But YouTube is a more public platform. So I'm going to click this share button and I'm looking for embed. So this is typically the sequence is share and embed. So I'm going to look for this embed code. I'll click that. And then I'll copy this code right here. And you have some options. You have so show suggested videos when the video finishes. I actually think it's good to uncheck that, because if you're embedding a video into Canvas, and that's the grid, it's a matrix of, oh, you like this video, or congratulations for finishing this video. Here's some other videos that maybe you want to watch. If you watch a Laura Gibbs video, it's probably videos about cats or something. But when you're in Canvas in a course, you probably want to disengage that, because you don't always know what videos YouTube is going to suggest. And so you want to keep it clean, and you don't want to distract the students. You don't want them to get, you know how millennials are with their attention. I'm a millennial, so I can say, but you want them to keep focused in the course. You can show player controls or not. That, some options here. You can also start it at a certain point. If I want to start this maybe 2 minutes into the video, it changes the code slightly. And so that allows me to just copy and paste it. All right, so I have that copied. Before I do that, I'm going to just copy the regular video. So let me click this, copy, because there are two ways that I can embed YouTube videos into Canvas. One is just copy and pasting the link into Canvas, which is great. I came from an LMS where that wasn't possible. You had to use JavaScript, and it was really complicated. And so Canvas allows it that you can just copy and paste the link, the URL, and it should play right in there. It'll have the link, the hyperlink right here, and it'll have a little thumbnail. You can click the thumbnail, and it gives you some controls, minimize it. But I like using the actual YouTube embed code. So let's see how those are different. And let's see why I like that. So I didn't explain this, but I put a table here. This is a 2x3 table so that I can compare, juxtapose the two different embed codes. And tables can be confusing. If I hop over to the HTML editor, I am confused, right? Or I would understand if people are confused. So I'm going to do my trick, type a whole bunch of A's, hop over to the window so I can easily see, okay, here's my A's. In terms of HTML speak, this is a little complicated, but if you see the ampersand NBSP, that means non-breaking space with the semicolon. That's just fancy terms for space. If click the space bar and have space between words. So I'm going to highlight that and paste. Actually, let me recopy. I have the actual embed code copied right here. So another life hack, I suppose, an internet hack not related to this presentation, is if you get a clipboard manager, then you can, instead of copying and pasting, you copy something new and you lost the other thing you copied, you can copy many things, and you can go back to a history of your copy and paste and pull some stuff up from previous things. So I have the YouTube embed code saved right there. Now you can see the difference between just copying and pasting. They do have the link, which I think is good in terms of accessibility, and a thumbnail. But the YouTube embed code, I think, is a better preview, and it plays right within the window, as opposed to expanding and then you have to minimize it. And then you have all of the YouTube controls, the typical controls, including if you're watching a video. I'm gonna mute that, but suppose I need to slow it down a little bit, I can do that within the controls here within the embedded video. So I can slow it down to half speed. I am pretty impatient, so I actually watch a lot of videos on 1.25 or 1.5 speed, and it just goes at a quicker pace, because I don't know why. Life is short, and YOLO and all that. So that's the difference between just copying and pasting a link and copying and pasting the embed code. And it's really not that much harder, I would say. It's easier to just copy this as opposed to click 1, 2, and then copy that, and maybe some more clicks depending if you want to start it at a certain place and if you want to play around with the controls a little bit. And then pasting, you can paste it in when you copy and paste the link, then it pastes into the rich content editor as opposed to having to go into the HTML editor. But I think if you take those couple extra steps, then it really makes the embed code. I think the YouTube embed code is a good approach to go. With that said, just put a video in your course. I think students like multimedia, so even if you're pasting through native Canvas, I think that's a great way to start. Before we hop onto Padlet, Stephanie, do we have any questions from people? I know there's probably a ton of questions and confuse people, but
no, quite the contrary, Sean. So far, we just have some thank yous for the awesome tip about the clipboard manager and about the placeholders for the A's so that you know where to go in the HTML view. And that's it so far, so you can carry on.
Awesome. We got some sharp people. And I will be repeating myself a little bit too, because embedding is pretty simple, but there are different things to consider. And if you're curious, I don't know if this is the best product, but I use Ditto as my clipboard manager. I imagine if you search for it, it's probably one of the first things that come up. There it is, Ditto Clipboard Manager, and it's free. And I don't know if I've been using this for about 7 or 8 years, so I don't know if it's the best or whatever, but it's convenient for me. So let's hop on to Padlet. And in this presentation, I might show you a few platforms that you haven't seen before. So extra bonus, if you haven't seen Padlet, I think that Padlet is a pretty great platform. So I created a Padlet specifically for my InstructureCon presentation, and I gave people access to it. In fact, here's the access, the QR code. If you have a phone, then you can scan that. And some of the people in the audience were contributing to the Padlet as well. But I'm sure you know of Pinterest. You've heard of Pinterest, or you use Pinterest to curate things like, I use it for education, to keep track of articles, like journal articles and stuff. But you can use it to keep track of home renovation projects, or pictures of cats, or whatever you'd like. And you can also use it as in the classroom. I've used Padlet. So Padlet is different than Pinterest, and that there are different, I think Padlet's a little bit better for education. And there are different ways that you can arrange the Padlet. So this is, I can move these around as opposed to Pinterest, that you don't have that flexibility. I can arrange this so that it's columns and specific columns. So I have a column for one topic, another column for another topic. I can have them so that they float on top of each other. This one is more of a canvas grid. So as I move it, as I move one thing, the things shuffle around. And it's just a good way, I think, to curate content. So the question is, how do I get this into Canvas? I have a page here. I have the link to Padlet, but I want to put the Padlet on my Canvas page. And so I'm going to look for the share button. In this case, Padlet puts it in the upper right-hand corner. And after I click share, I'm going to look for embed. And there are a lot of options. Before I embed it, I can consider, is this a private Padlet that I don't want anybody to access? Probably not if you're using it for the classroom. Is it a password protected Padlet? In that case, I can create a password, I've done this in some classes where I have the class collaborates on the Padlet, and I give them the password, and I put it right on the assignment page, and I embed the Padlet on the assignment page as well. And so it's not any mystery of how they can access it. Otherwise, a secret, so that you have to have the URL to access it. In this case, it's padlet.com/Sean_Newfer/InstCon, because this is the one I use for my InstructureCon presentation. Or you can have it public. I'm going to put it secret. And those with access, can they view it? Can they read it, write it? These are important settings, because if you embed it, then it incorporates these settings. So suppose I have all the settings, I have my contributors, everything's all set, and so I want to embed it. So I'm going to click the embed, share, export, embed link, and there are various things. So there's a QR code, which I put right on the Padlet. There's a link that I could put, and here's the embed. I want to embed it on my website. And this looks confusing, just don't worry about it. Just copy what they tell you to copy. And I'm going to find a place for this. I'll put it right in between these links right here. So maybe in this case, I'll do a bunch of Y's. It's just something that stands out, whatever works for you. So I'm going to delete that whole page or that whole line, and I'm going to paste the plain text, which it's quite an intensive load of code, but you don't need to really know anything about that code. All you need to know is what to copy and where to paste it. Now you can see that Padlet embedded right in my content page here in Canvas. And to show you that it's live, I'm going to put some content. I'm going to, let me put, I'll put this link to the YouTube thing that we're looking at, the YouTube page. All right, so that looks like the right thumbnail. I'm gonna click OK. All right, so now there's my thing. I can put a title, Laura Gibbs, and my description is this was a Canvas live event. All right, so that should be set up. If I hop over to my page, you can see that already updated. So you don't even need to refresh the page within Canvas. All you need to do is add content either on Padlet or within Canvas, and it adjusts accordingly. So if I put this over here, hop back over to my page in Canvas, you can see it's all dynamic. And so this is one advantage to embedding content as opposed to uploading like a PDF or an image, something that if it changes on one end, you need to change it on the other end. As opposed to embedding, it's all dynamic. Let me show you, and I have some permission to show. There's no sensitive information here. Actually, time out. I'm going to show that in a new tab. I used Padlet for an introduction. I'm sure a lot of institutions are kind of the same, where at week 1 for online courses, you need to participate. The students need to participate in some form of introduction discussion for attendance purposes, and it reports to your campus management system or campus view or whatever you use. And it's always kind of perfunctory. Tell us about yourself. What's a hobby that you have? What do you expect to get out of this course? What time zone are you in, maybe? Just very banal and kind of boring, but it's perfunctory, and they need to do it so that it can be marked as present. I decided instead of doing a discussion post like that, I'm going to, yes, do a discussion post, but I'm going to have them sign up for Padlet accounts, and they're going to share Padlets with each other, and they're going to taking it a step further, because I expect a lot from especially my grad students. They're going to embed Padlet right into the discussion thread, not just put a link to their Padlet, but put it right in the discussion. And so I tell them, sign up for Padlet. Here's the platform. Create an account and have the following elements. Create a video of yourself, put some pictures, and then I tell them how to embed the Padlet onto their posts. I tell them what to copy, and I even created some animated pictures here so that they can see me embedding. It's easy as share, embed, copy the code, hop over to the HTML editor, paste the code, and publish your post. And that's as easy as it is. And some students had problems, and so I helped some out, but then other students helped other students out. They're like, oh yeah, you can just embed it, and they helped each other out. And typically in one of these introductions, the posts, I might get a couple of dozen of responses. If I get 50 in a class of 18, then that's a pretty engaged cohort. That's a pretty engaged crowd. In this Introduce Yourself, I had about 17 or 18 students, and I had over 300 responses. So these students were incredibly engaged. And I had some of these students in past classes, and after seeing their Padlets and how much fun they had, I felt like I didn't even know the person from after teaching them in an entirely different course. This is like a new person. I get to see their family, videos, see their vacation in Padlet form. And here's where I share my own Padlet with my students. So this was an actual Padlet, and I talk about my job, and I talk about, pictures of us at Disney and such, and my family. And then my students created their Padlets. I'm just going to scroll real quick. And you can see that, they were incredibly engaged, and their Padlets were very interesting. And for the most part, they didn't really have problems embedding content into their posts. And so this is, I think, a great feature and a great way for us to get to know each other. And I had another assignment in that same course where I had a class assignment that was a class Padlet. And so so I had different columns, and each student had to put at least 2 annotated bibliographies, 2 relevant YouTube videos discussing the content of the week. And I had various requirements, any relevant tweets from prominent people within the industry, or if you have an article from Forbes or LinkedIn or something relevant. And so we created a class Padlet, and I contributed as well. I did the assignment with the students, and each student had their own column that they curated. And then after they curated it, then when everything was done, they wrote a reflection paper based on our finding, based on our class Padlet. And it was very engaging and very interesting. And so embedding the content can really make your course dynamic and interactive. So Prezi, people are probably familiar with Prezi. I don't think it's such a novel platform anymore. Here's a link to a Prezi. This is just a template. It's not anything noteworthy, other than I guess it's a good template. But suppose this was content. This was a Prezi that I wanted to share with the class. Instead of sharing the link and shooting them out to Prezi, of course, the theme of this session is let's embed it. So now Prezi does have a share button here, but right next to the share button is the embed button. So that's always what you're going to look for, is how can I embed this? And Prezi lets you adjust the width and height. Suppose I want 600 pixels wide by 400 tall. I would probably use what they have by default. And then I copy the code to the clipboard. In this case, I don't need to do my trick because there's really not much code. I'm just going to put it at the bottom there. And it gives me a bunch of, oops, not cancel save. Alphanumeric gibberish, that's HTML. And here's my Prezi. Embeds right like it's supposed to. A little bit of a lag, and I think that's probably having to do with just the bandwidth of the webinar taking place. But once it loads up, then it'll be right in there. And what I like about embedding content is that it doesn't have to be the entire page. I can have more content down here. I don't know if I have, for lack of creativity, I'm just going to copy and paste this a whole bunch of times. Pretend this is insightful and scholarly content. That's a nice paragraph there. And so you can have content embedded, within. It doesn't have to be the only thing on the page, as opposed to if you set up in the modules page a URL page, then that page is only going to be dedicated to one thing, maybe a Prezi, and then they have to hop over to the next page. But if you properly embed content, then you can have it just be a supplement to the other content on the page. So Sway, Stephanie, let me know if there are questions yet. Otherwise, I'll talk about Sway.
Yeah, Sean, there was one question that has already been addressed in the thread, and one is coming right now. And the question has to do with switching to the HTML editor as opposed to using the Insert Edit Media button that's in the Rich Content Editor. So on the Rich Content Editor view, you have the ability to use that drop-down for Insert Media. Is there a reason that you're not using that interface in order to put the code in?
It's only because this is new, and I have been doing it one way for several years. So, but that's a good point. I mean, I should be able to, let me hop back over to the previous page. Let's do that. So edit, I have a hyperlink, I have an embedded thing, I have some content. Let's play around with this other way. So I'm not in the HTML editor. And I also like the HTML editor just because I'm a little more proficient with the HTML and CSS, and I like being able to customize. I usually do my tables from scratch in HTML, and I'm just kind of comfortable in that. And the more you look at the code, the more you play around with this and explore, it becomes less intimidating, I would say. All right, so let's see. I think this was some code. Let's save that. And so there's that code 2 times. And I guess I really should be promoting this one more, the embed code. You can just type the embed code right there. I just feel more confident. Suppose I were to break this up and use my trick. This time I'm going to type a whole bunch of C's. I just like knowing exactly where I'm going to place it and having that confidence. But that's just me personally. So I don't think I'm wrong, but there's more than one right way to do that. All right, so this is a sway. This is actually a sway that my wife created last year. She presented this to our elementary school. She was trying to put in a butterfly garden, a pollinator garden into the school grounds as a way to teach students. And so Sway, if you're not familiar with Sway, it's a Microsoft product, sway.com. Really easy, and you can sign up for it, and it's an alternative to things like Prezi or PowerPoint in that you can put content and it forms more of an ebook, and it's very responsive as well. If I were to take this and put it on a different aspect ratio, perhaps mobile, then I gave it a second and it optimizes it for whatever screen, even a mobile device or a small laptop screen or tablet screen. And so it's very responsive in that sense. My monitor that I'm on right here, this is a 27-inch monitor, so it's very different than if I were on an iPad or on the phone or a different computer. And so Sway, you can put images, you can put animated images or videos, or you can embed tweets, embed a lot of different types of content in there. So I have this presentation and I want to share this within Canvas. So because I don't know why, but they decided to make it a little more complicated. Instead of having a share button that's normal, they have this share button that's a circle with circles, or some design person could probably explain that to me. But that's their share button. If I hover over it, it says share this Sway. So I have a hyperlink or a URL, a link to the thing, but I'm looking for the embed code. I always like using this embed code. So there's the iframe. I can copy it or click copy to clipboard. Close that down. And let's do it the new method. I'm going to insert the media embed, and I'll go ahead and paste it right there. All right, so even in the preview menu before I saved it, I can see the Sway right there. And Sway is interesting because you can also change the settings. So this is my default layout is it scrolls from top to bottom. I can have it scroll from left to right, and I can make these changes right within Canvas, right embedded. So there it is, scrolling from left to right. I can also have it optimized for presentation like a PowerPoint. So it's more of a slideshow, I would say, where I jump from one slide to another slide in that aspect. And if you go onto the Sway, if you go and edit it, you can actually take this embed code, and you can create another Sway, and you can embed this Sway into that Sway. And so you can have several layers of Sway if that's what you wanted. And you can click through the pictures. It's just a way to make your content pages a bit more dynamic. Instead of uploading a file, a PowerPoint presentation file into the files thing and say, you can download this, it has voiceover or something, you can translate it to a Sway and put it right into Canvas and increase the amount of multimedia and interactivity. All right, so I'm going to take a look at this code real quick. Yeah, I wanted to at some point talk about the embed code a little bit. So, oh, I don't know. Embed content. Mistakes that editors make. I don't know what that video is, and I don't really care, but I'm just wanting to grab grab some code right here, and then I'll take a break and answer some questions. So I'm going to paste this in here just so that we can look at what is this in embed code. Most of the time, the embed code, I think today, is pretty simple. And so it starts with an iframe. This is the HTML saying, we're going to put some content. So here's the beginning of the iframe, and here's the end of the iframe. And so this code is just telling the browser, by the way, we're going to put some content into this space on the web page. And then I have a width and a height. This is HTML. These are pixels. So 560 pixels wide, 315 pixels height. And I can change that manually if I wanted to have it more like 600 by 400. And then it's SRC. SRC equals quotation mark, and then you have a URL, just a plain web address, and then the close quotation marks. And so that's saying, it's telling the iframe, or telling the browser, this is the content of the iframe. So we got, it's going to be this wide, this tall, this is going to be the content. And you can ignore this. I mean, allow full screen means that I can maximize it and it'll take up the full screen. Frame border means there's no border because it's 0. If I were to change that to maybe 10, we can see what happens there. Nothing happens. So I think it cleaned it out. So so that's pretty much, it's saying, okay, this is probably 600 wide, 400 tall, like we mentioned, and the content is whatever that video is. And so that's what basically an iframe is. Now the Padlet was a little more complicated, so just ignore that. But yeah, well, so do we have more questions before I move on?
Yeah, Sean, we have just a few. The first one is, have you found it useful to use percentage for width, for it to adapt to the user's screen size?
It really depends. If I'm doing something like a table, then I think that's good. If it's a video, then that might not be so great, because for videos you kind of need a fixed width and a height. And so you wouldn't want it to be like 100%. Like, this is a large monitor. Again, this is 27 inches. And if I get rid of that menu, if I were to say, put this 100% wide and 500 pixels tall, that's going to look really awkward, I would say. We can play around with that real quick. If it's something like an image, then that could work. Just put the width as a percentage. Don't put the height at all, and it might work out okay. So percentage width means the width of the screen, not the entire monitor, because I can't have it overflow into my navigation on the left, or this navigation, or these things on the right, but there's going to be a window. In this case, you can kind of see the window right there, but when I save it, it'll be a little bit different. So suppose I have a width of 100, a height of 200. I don't even know if that's going to render, if it's going to look, yeah, that looks kind of weird. So that didn't really work out. And more realistically, you're not going to put 200 high for a video. It'll be something more like 400 pixels high. Yeah, so it just depends. Some interactions, you really need it to be, just use the width and the height that they give you. And on the platform, like here, let me pause that. As I click share, embed, oh, not YouTube. Why isn't it letting me? YouTube just recently changed their embed stuff, but you used to be able to say how high and how wide. And I'm going to show a couple of other platforms in a little bit where I know that they have those options. But you can see the width and the height right there. I would stick with those those pixels that they give you, just because that way you know that there's not going to be any. It's like white space. In this case, it's black space, but it's like dead area. You know, where it's, in this case, it's a little bit too wide, I would say. And if I were to let me first. I'm going to minimize this a little bit so that you can see. So you can see it's 100% wide, and you can see it kind of changing. So if it's too wide, then you can see some dead space on either side. If it's too narrow, then you can see dead space on the top and the bottom, as opposed to, no, where's my other thing? Yeah, that's not looking great either. But yeah, so that was a super long answer for, if you're using images, I would say definitely use percentage if you want, and only use percentage for the width and not the height, because it'll automatically scale it so that the height matches the dimensions of the width. For videos, for other embed things, then it might not work. It just depends on how dynamic it is. For Padlet, I think it would work. So let's play around with, oh, and this might be complicated though. So I'm gonna look for, let's see, width of 300. Oh boy, there's several. This code's a little complicated, but if you can figure out, looks like that's the iframe width is 100%. So if I make that 50% and save that, then it's just going to put it for, it should just put it for half my page. And so you can see that scales it so that it fits within that area. And I made the wrong width because one of them's 100, one of them's 50%. So some things are dynamic in that sense. Other things look poorly if you use 100% versus a certain fixed amount of pixels. Just explore and play around with it, and maybe create a duplicate of the page or play around in your sandbox so you don't hurt anything that is important, if that makes sense. Other questions?
Yeah, Sean, one other question, and that's just asking for a reiteration of something you mentioned when you were demonstrating Sway. Did you say that you can show tweets in Sway?
You can. Let me hop over to, oh goodness, I guess I'm signed out. Is it system? Sorry. Here's your slow. All right, come on. Good grief. All right, 5 minutes later, I think I'm logging in. All right, so yeah, this is what the back end of Sway looks like. They use something called cards, and there are cards for a heading, different headings, text, images, audio. If you wanted to embed video, for example, I just drag this down here, and I can add a video from my hard drive or search for a video that's online. And they also have embed cards right here, so which is pertinent to our discussion today. And you can't embed from everything. I think Canvas is a little more flexible, but there are many places where you can embed from, and Twitter would be one of those. So you go to Twitter, grab the embed code for the tweet that you want, and you would paste it right here, and then you can embed a tweet within Sway, and you can embed several tweets if you want. So this is what the back end of Sway looks like. And then once it automatically saves. You never have to click save, since it's a cloud-based platform. Every time you make a change, it just saves it, so that if I mentioned that because if I embed something on here and make a change, then I don't have to refresh the page or anything. The change is right there. If I did something maybe dramatic, just to show that, let me put a new image right before the title here, and add an image. I don't even know. Let's just search for something obvious. I don't even know what that is, but I'm going to drag it right there, and I click play. It's going to think for a second, and then I can see my new card is right there. And looks like I might need to refresh the page. It's not coming over right away like I thought it was, but there it is. There's the new card right there, and that could have been a tweet, an embedded tweet or whatever. So I think Sway is a very interesting platform. I think it's very buggy, but if you can explore around, it doesn't take too long before you're proficient in it. And there are a lot of interesting things, and there are tutorials. If you click on tutorials, they're short and they're fun. and chunked, and it's a very easy, lightweight platform for you to learn, and it embeds very well into Canvas. Other questions?
Sean, we're caught up on questions for now, so carry on.
Awesome. I think I'm going to talk about blogging. Now, sometimes blogs, they have a link that you can embed a blog post into another place, and so that's convenient. I'm going to show a blog that doesn't have that capability to show. So we're getting into the maybe more advanced phase of this webinar. So I have a blog here, and I want to grab here's a blog post, tips for making your PowerPoint slides more effective. And so I'm going to copy this. For now, I'm going to just paste the link right into Canvas. All right, so here's my link. Now, if I just save this, then it's just a link. It just takes me out to the page, and that does me no good. So to embed it, on this page, there isn't really an embed option, but I can embed this page on there. I'm just going to hop over to YouTube once again. Let me grab our trusty thing here. So I'm going to share, click the embed. I don't want it to show the suggested things. I'm not actually going to embed this video necessarily. I don't care about player controls. Well, maybe I'm just going to copy this, because the reason why I think YouTube embed code is very clean, and it's a good way to start. So I can click on the HTML editor now, and I'm going to paste that embed code, because the embed code is very simple. It's a very simple iframe. Now I'm going to take this URL to the blog, and I'm going to go ahead and copy that, and I'll get rid of the rest of that. And instead of having the source, the URL being that YouTube channel, which is everything between these two quotation marks, instead I'm going to paste the link to the blog. And you can see the width and the height. We're going to play around with that in a second. So I'll go ahead and save that, and then you can see the blog posts right here within Canvas. I'm going to hop back over to edit. Again, we're getting a little more sophisticated. I'm going to hop over to the HTML editor. Let's make that width something. We were talking about percentages, so let's do that. Let's make the width maybe 100%, so it should go to the width of whatever the screen is there. And for height, for a blog post, maybe 600 or 800 would be better. I'm going to go ahead and save that. And now you can see the blog post in here. And there's a scroll window right here. So that kind of stinks. I mean that I have two scroll things, but so you might want to play around with it a little bit. Maybe 600 is a little high, but again, it's hard doing this when you're considering mobile and responsive design. So I'm not saying that this is a great solution or anything, but so on this monitor, I lost one of those scroll whatever things, the thing on the right. So I just have the one. But if this monitor was smaller, then I would have that again. And I would scroll it. So, you know, it's not super clean necessarily, but it is a way that you can embed random things. So again, all I did is I went to YouTube and I stole their code essentially for a video. It doesn't matter what video, and I just replaced the video URL with whatever it was that I wanted to embed, whether it's a tweet or something. That's Twitter's a little bit more complicated in Canvas. It does take an extra step, so I don't know that we'll go over that today. Now I do have Pinterest and Twitter on the bottom here. The last page I'm going to focus on is this miscellaneous media. In the InstructureCon presentation that I did this last summer, I talked more in depth about how to do Pinterest and Twitter, because it is a bit more complicated. You have to do some workarounds. And so on this page, I have a link to the InstructureCon video, so you can follow along there. And I have a breakdown of the code, what you have to do. It is more complicated, but it is possible. As you can see here, this is a Pinterest board that I have embedded. And on the next page, I have various examples of tweets, hashtags, and profiles and Twitter chats and such. So it is possible, but that's a kind of a next step. The last thing I want to talk about is miscellaneous media. So rapid pace, and then I'll take some questions and we'll wrap this up. So suppose here's an article from today, and I'll click on this. They have an embed code. Now look for this, the brackets here with the dash, the slash. That's the magical embed code sign. If you ever see that, then you know that that's an embeddable content. And so in this case, I have an article from today, and it has a video, and I want to embed that video. Oops, I think I've made a mistake. Now the embed code's gone. All right.
The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences.
Okay, so here's the video. I'm going to click on the embed code and just copy the code. You can see it's an iframe. That should be making sense, even if this is all new to you, then it should be somewhat familiar. So I'll click on the edit media this time, embed, and I can see, I know the window's really small, but I can see the essential components. I have an iframe, I have a width and a height. Another option we haven't talked about is, scrolling no, a source. Now here's the URL to the video. So yeah, that's basically an iframe, and so here I can see the video placed within my content page. I'll save that, and there's the video. Thinglink is another platform that I think is pretty awesome. I won't go into it, but it's a very interactive thing. You can have an image, and you can have different content load up on the image. So let's figure out how to embed this. This is another universal sign for embed. It's 3 circles with the lines. A lot of times it'll be either this or a giant arrow that says share. So I'm going to click share. Here's the embed. I'm going to copy this. Now this is, again, getting a little bit complicated. So this time I'm going to hop into the HTML editor, look for my line. There it is. Paste this plain text. And I have it plain. And so this is kind of Inception-like, because I have content embedded within Thinglink, and Thinglink's embedded within YouTube. So it can be incredibly, the possibilities, once you know how to embed and you're comfortable with it, is you can do a lot of good stuff. Here's a
beaver. Can you see all stages?
That was a picture with voiceover embedded within this picture. Oh, there's the beekeeper up there. All right, so if you know the infographic platform easily, Pictochart, Canva to an extent. So I wanted to share this because this is a different interface than what we've seen, but essentially what I'm looking for is a share button. In this case, I see share up top, and then embed code. So I'm showing this miscellaneous page is just to show that the embed code can be in different places and different platforms, but usually you should be able to find it. So in this case, we're looking at easily. I'll use the embed in the rich text editor, and there's my infographic. And since easily is dynamic, if I were to go and change that on this platform, make any kind of changes, then that would push over here, as opposed to uploading an image that I would have to change. All right, so I'm just going to go in rapid pace and hit these last couple. We have Vimeo, which is kind of like YouTube, Edpuzzle, Voicethread. Vimeo, we're looking for a share button. In YouTube, it's below the video. In Vimeo, it's shaped like a paper airplane. And as you hover over it, you can see the share pop-up dialog box. So I click share, look for that embed code. Now Vimeo gives me some options. So I can choose the width and the height. I can customize the width and the height. I can autoplay the video if I wanted. There are different colors that I can use, a little bit of customizability. Maybe pink. Maybe I'll try the pink there. And then I'll just go ahead and, and then I'll go ahead and copy that. I'll paste it onto here. All right, Edpuzzle. Edpuzzle is where you can take YouTube videos and you put it into this platform, and you can add quiz questions, you can add dialogue, voiceover, and kind of customize the videos, talk through the YouTube videos instead of just playing the video. And so when you sign up for it, then you create your content, and then you click on the content that you want to share, and then you can click the share button up top here. In this case, I need to share with everyone and embed code. You don't need to remember this, just remember that sometimes it's a little complicated. They don't always make it super easy, but you can usually find the embed code. And I'll go ahead and embed that. And last thing, Voicethread. We probably all know Voicethread as a presentation tool. Voicethread, the share button is hidden. So this would be a Voicethread. I have the 3 links up here, and then there's the embed code right there. So sometimes it's not always on the page, but it should be accessible. Not that everybody allows their content to be embedded, but mostly I think that's kind of the trend. I think that people want to make it easy. All right, so I'll click save. We just added a whole bunch of embed content. Instead of links, we have a video to an article. We have an interactive image. I have an infographic, another video. I have an Edpuzzle, and I have a voice thread at the bottom here. So once you know how to embed, there are so many options, and it can really make your classes engaging, and it can dress up your content. And I'll reiterate from the very first thing I said, you can embed on assignment pages, you can embed in discussion instructions or in discussion posts, in announcements, anywhere where you see a rich text editor on the page, then you can embed content onto that page. Any questions for me?
Sean, I believe we are all caught up on questions, but I would like to wait just a few moments to see if anyone has any more questions before we wrap up.
No problem. If anybody has any tips that I didn't cover, or any insights or questions that you think of afterwards, go on to the event page and you can go ahead and ask there. Go ahead, let's see, it should be right up top here. Yeah, Canvas community, and we can take questions here. Well, oops.
Well, I guess with that, it looks like we are good to go. So I would like to thank everyone for participating. And I would encourage you to follow live.canvaslms.com so that you stay on top of all of the events that are taking place in the Canvas community. And I would like to also encourage you to join the Canvas Live Focus Group if you're interested in participating in putting together an event of your own. And I would like to extend our special thanks to Sean Neufer for putting together this extraordinary presentation that has a veritable wealth of resources. Don't forget, everyone, the course that Sean created is available to you for future reference, so you can feel free to go to the event page in the Canvas community, click on the link to that Canvas course, and avail yourself of the specific embed instructions and the different tools that Sean demonstrated today. And Sean, thank you again, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day.
Thanks for having me. Thank you, everybody.